From the moment you entered this world, you were never unseen. The air may have felt quiet, the room empty, but even then something ancient recognized your soul. Chosen ones, your energy carried a frequency that drew attention from realms you couldn't yet perceive. Some watched in admiration, others in fear, and a few in envy. Every stage of your life has been recorded not by human eyes alone, but by the eyes of the unseen, the spiritual dimensions that trace destiny and light. You've probably felt this awareness in strange moments, the hair rising on your neck when you walked alone, the sudden sense that someone was near though no one was there. That's because your light has always been marked. Those with spiritual sight could sense your essence long before you knew who you were. You were not ordinary. You were chosen to be visible in a world that hides from truth. Even as a child, your sensitivity wasn't weakness, it was perception. The way you could feel the room, sense tension, or discern people's motives, that was the mark of a soul under observation. The chosen are not hidden because their energy radiates authenticity. You are a mirror, and mirrors cannot go unnoticed. So when you feel unseen, understand this paradox. You are simultaneously invisible to those who lack depth, yet exposed to those with spiritual sight. Heaven and darkness both know your name. The question is, who are you allowing to interpret your reflection? Backhand index pointing right, pause and reflect. Have you ever felt that strange pull, as though your life was being watched by something beyond human understanding? Comment below if you've experienced it. Your story might awaken another soul. And if this message already speaks to your spirit, remember to like this video and subscribe to Mirror of the Soul, where every message helps you decode your divine journey. There were moments when you couldn't shake the feeling that someone's eyes were on you, not out of fear, but out of intuition. It might have happened when you walked into a room and conversations paused, when you entered a season of silence, yet felt energies moving around you. That wasn't paranoia. That was spiritual awareness. Chosen ones, your aura sends out a signal that disturbs both light and darkness. You are a disturbance to the status quo, a reminder of what authenticity feels like in a world addicted to illusion. When your vibration rises, everything around you starts to respond. People look, shadows move, energy shifts. You felt this for years but couldn't explain it. Think of it like this. A candle doesn't choose to attract attention, its very nature does. The flame isn't trying to be seen, it simply is. That's you. Your light exposes hidden motives. It awakens sleeping souls. It makes the enemy nervous because your awareness threatens their control. The more you awaken, the stronger the gaze upon you becomes from both realms. And yes, sometimes it manifests as envy, projection, or even silent competition. People you've never harmed may act strangely toward you. That's because your light reminds them of what they suppressed in themselves. You are their mirror, and not everyone likes what they see. If this resonates, don't shrink. Don't dim yourself to escape the gaze. Instead, rise higher. You are meant to be seen. Comment below if you've noticed how people's energy shifts when you enter a room. Let's awaken together here on Mirror of the Soul. Chosen one, when you rise, heaven observes. Angels are assigned to monitor your path, not to control you, but to protect your evolution. There's a divine record of every tear, every betrayal, every time you chose love when bitterness tempted you. This is spiritual surveillance, not like the world's version, but a holy observation meant to ensure your soul stays aligned with its contract. Every act of kindness, every prayer whispered in silence, it's all seen. The realm of heaven doesn't operate through cameras, but through consciousness. God's light records vibrations, not visuals. Your energy emits data into the universe, data that heaven interprets as faith, endurance, or trust. When you feel overlooked, remember that your file in heaven's archives is overflowing with faithfulness. This is why sudden miracles appear just when you're about to give up, because heaven was watching. This is why certain people exit your life, not rejection, but divine redirection. The watchers above move people and events like chess pieces to ensure your destiny aligns. Some of you may even experience déjà vu, prophetic dreams, or divine echoes. Those are signals that the surveillance is active. You're receiving updates from the higher realms. Pay attention. Backhand index pointing right question for you. Have you ever noticed a coincidence that felt too precise to be random, like something divine was tracking your life events? Comment your story below. Your testimony could be someone's confirmation. Not every eye watching you belongs to heaven. Some are drawn by curiosity, others by corruption. When you carry light, you attract both admiration and attack. Angels guard, but shadows observe too, looking for weaknesses, studying your habits, trying to predict your next breakthrough moment. This is the duality of the chosen life. Chosen ones, the more you awaken, the more visible you become in both realms. The darkness doesn't fear your mistakes, it fears your realization. It's not your perfection that intimidates, it's your awareness. When you recognize who you are, hell panics. Because the watchers of darkness lose their power once you stop performing for them. Sometimes you'll notice this through repeated patterns, distractions, delays, or people suddenly appearing to derail your peace. That's the enemy's form of spiritual hacking. Just as heaven observes to protect, the adversary observes to distort. Yet even then, you remain untouchable because your protection is divine, not circumstantial. Understand this. You are the lesson the watchers cannot comprehend. They study your fall but never understand your resurrection. Every comeback you make sends a shockwave through the unseen. Your ability to still love, still believe, and still rise, that's your greatest weapon. Many chosen ones battle loneliness because they think they're imagining things. You sensed eyes, energies, emotions that others ignored, and society told you it was all in your head. But what if it was? What if your intuition was your superpower, not your weakness? You weren't paranoid, you were perceived. Your awareness is a divine gift, a radar tuned to truth. People with low vibration can't sense what you do. That's why you always felt different. You pick up on frequencies that others dismiss. You feel lies in your body. You sense motives through silence. And when you say, "I just know," you're speaking the language of the awakened. It's not insanity to sense what's invisible. It's sensitivity. And in spiritual terms, sensitivity is sight. You've been seeing before your eyes were trained to recognize it. Every shiver, every intuition, every sudden warning you couldn't explain, those were downloads from higher consciousness, guiding you through unseen danger. Chosen ones, your perception is the reason darkness tried to gaslight you into doubting yourself. The moment you start trusting your discernment, you disarm manipulation. That's why self-trust is spiritual warfare. When heaven placed a mantle on you, the adversary noticed first. The same light that draws angels also exposes you to envy. Every chosen soul carries two kinds of eyes upon them, the jealous gaze of darkness and the guarding gaze of God. The difference: one watches to accuse, the other to redeem. The jealous eyes search for cracks in your armor. They whisper, "See, they're not perfect." They wait for you to stumble because your existence reminds them of their fall. Yet even in your weakest moments, the protective gaze of God never blinks. When the enemy studies your failure, heaven studies your faith. Remember those seasons when everything went wrong, yet somehow you didn't break. That's because divine surveillance surrounded you. The devil could see you but not touch your assignment. You were watched through filters of limitation. He could observe but never own you. Chosen one, the next time you sense pressure or spiritual warfare, don't panic. Pressure means purpose is in motion. When darkness pays attention, it's confirmation that heaven already has plans to promote you. Divine eyes do not spy, they steward. Every chosen path is measured with care. When you lose something, heaven checks whether it will refine or ruin you. When you gain influence, heaven measures how it will shape your humility. It is love, not suspicion, that keeps God's gaze fixed on you. Imagine a gardener watching a fragile seedling. The gardener must track sunlight, moisture, and growth daily, not because the plant is weak, but because its future harvest is valuable. So it is with you. Heaven's observation ensures that timing, environment, and companions serve your calling. Sometimes you misinterpret this watchfulness as delay. You pray, "Why have you moved yet?" But a loving overseer doesn't release fruit before it ripens. The same eye that watched you cry in secret is scheduling your public redemption. Chosen ones, when you feel unseen, whisper to yourself, "Heaven is monitoring my progress." That thought alone can transform frustration into faith. Awakening isn't a gentle sunrise, it's a supernova. When your consciousness expands, your frequency spikes, and both light and darkness detect the surge. You begin to glow in the unseen spectrum. That's why certain people grow uncomfortable around you. Their spirits sense change even before their minds do. Your dreams intensify, coincidences multiply, and intuition sharpens. You start noticing repeating numbers, sudden chills, inner alarms. These are not random. They're feedback from dimensions acknowledging your upgrade. You are broadcasting truth on a higher channel now. Yet visibility has a price. As your light brightens, old patterns, friends, and environments fall away. The shadows that once tolerated you now resist you. Don't misread that resistance as rejection. It's simply contrast revealing where you no longer belong. When you feel exposed, remember, you were never meant to hide forever. Awakening demands visibility so that others can locate their own light through yours. Chosen ones, you have an audience you cannot see. There are souls, both incarnate and unseen, who draw guidance from your walk. Some you've met, others you never will. Your endurance becomes their roadmap. Your silence becomes their study. That's why integrity in private matters more than applause in public. Someone unseen learns from every decision you make. In spirit, mentorship transcends distance. When you forgive, a hurting stranger somewhere receives courage to release resentment. When you speak kindness into chaos, frequencies shift across timelines. You are a transmitter of higher patterns, and heaven ensures that your signal reaches those ready to evolve. But not all invisible followers carry light. Some observe out of fascination or jealousy. They mimic without transformation. Their purpose is to test whether your authenticity withstands imitation. Let them watch. Your consistency will expose counterfeit intentions faster than confrontation ever could. The mature soul stops performing and simply becomes. Visibility then turns from burden to blessing. Every destiny attracts research. The higher your calling, the deeper some people will analyze you, not to understand, but to imitate or interfere. Silent observers scroll through your life, memorize your rhythm, and plan their approach. Yet what they can't copy is your anointing. They can learn your habits but never your heart. These watchers appear friendly but feel off. They ask questions that seem caring yet collect data. They appear in seasons of momentum, not struggle, because their motive is proximity to your rising. Don't fear them, discern them. Remember, even Jesus had Judas, not as punishment but as prophecy. Some enemies are necessary to escort you into visibility. Betrayal becomes transportation. When people study you to harm, they end up publicizing your purpose. Chosen ones, stay authentic. Don't dim, don't retaliate, and don't broadcast everything. Let mystery guard your miracles. The same God who allows observation also controls interpretation. Sometimes the watcher isn't an enemy, an angel, or a stranger at all. It's the future version of you. Every choice, every word, every boundary you set is shaping the soul you are becoming. Your higher self, the you that already walks in destiny, observes this present you with compassion and accountability. The eyes, you feel, might be your own consciousness stretching across time, whispering, "Keep going, I'm waiting on you." That's why deja vu feels sacred. It's not repetition, it's recognition. The future you is signaling that you're finally walking the path written long ago. Heaven designed self-awareness to be a mirror loop. You watch yourself becoming what you were meant to be. That is spiritual maturity in motion. So when you feel examined by life itself, don't resist it. Step into that awareness. Ask, what is the next decision my future self will thank me for? Each honest answer becomes a bridge between the person you are and the one you are destined to embody. Observation isn't always judgment. Sometimes it's confirmation. Heaven watches to certify your readiness for the next dimension. Think of a master sculptor studying the statue before the final polish. The gaze is intense because the creation is nearly complete. Those seasons where you felt every flaw exposed were not punishment, they were validation in process. Pressure proves authenticity. If God didn't see greatness in you, he wouldn't bother refining you. The divine gaze lingers where potential lives. Chosen one, when life feels like an endless exam, realize that you are being qualified, not disqualified. Every unseen trial is evidence that promotion is near. Heaven does not test the counterfeit. Only the genuine gets audited. Algorithms aren't just digital, they're spiritual. Every thought, emotion, and action you release sends a vibration into the field of consciousness. Heaven's algorithm matches your frequency with experiences meant for your evolution. That's why you keep encountering similar lessons until the pattern is learned. You think coincidence, heaven thinks calibration. When you pray for peace, situations that test your patience appear, because the algorithm is coding you for mastery. When you declare love, unloving energies surface to measure your sincerity. Nothing is wasted, everything is data guiding your destiny. So yes, you are seen constantly, but not by surveillance, by synchronization. The universe echoes your inner state until alignment is achieved. Awareness is how you debug the code. Backhand index pointing right question. What repeating experience keeps returning to your life? Could it be heaven's algorithm requesting an update? Write it below, and let the mirror of the soul community help you interpret the pattern. Every awakened soul hums with a signature tone, your personal wavelength in God's symphony. Darkness cannot counterfeit it and mediocrity cannot mute it. Even when you withdraw, your energy broadcasts hope. That's why strangers confess their pain to you, why animals calm around you, why chaos slows when you speak. Your frequency is medicine. But this light also makes you traceable. Just as a lighthouse guides ships, it also announces its location to every storm. Still, the lighthouse never apologizes for shining. It stands on purpose, knowing its glow saves more lives than the waves can destroy. When fatigue tempts you to dim down, remember, visibility is responsibility. Someone's breakthrough depends on your brightness. Shine wisely, but never hide. While you sleep, the surveillance continues, not to invade but to instruct. Dreams are heaven's replay system, showing you footage your waking mind missed. Every symbol, every familiar face is edited by divine intelligence to reveal your emotional truth. That's the celestial camera, recording growth in the language of imagery. Some nights you wake shaken because the footage felt too real. Other nights you glimpse loved ones or guides giving silent messages. Treat these as spiritual documentaries, not nightmares. Rewatch them through prayer, journaling, or meditation. The purpose of revelation is transformation. Chosen one, when a dream repeats, heaven is insisting you review the scene again. Once you integrate the lesson, the dream retires. That's how the camera knows the episode is complete. Chosen ones, the truth is about to stretch your understanding of reality. The eyes you felt your whole life, the gaze that followed you in silence, the energy that seemed to trace your every step. It was not only angels, not only adversaries, and not even just your higher self. The one who has truly been watching you is God Himself, through the mirror of your own consciousness. You see, God doesn't observe from afar, He experiences through you. The same awareness you call intuition is the divine surveillance system operating within your soul. That's why every time you did the right thing when no one saw, peace flooded your heart immediately, because He was there in that very moment feeling through your choice. You have never been alone. The shock isn't that God watches you, it's how. not as a judge behind a camera, but as the pulse within your heartbeat, as the thought that tells you, this isn't right, or forgive them anyway. He watches through empathy, not evaluation, through tears, not threats, through love that never blinks. All the eyes, human and spiritual, were reflections of that singular, divine attention. God used them to remind you, I see you, I'm still here. When you were rejected, He watched. When you were promoted, He watched. When you were breaking, He never turned away. Every chosen one must walk through a season of divine exposure. There comes a time when the same eyes that watched you suffer will witness your resurrection. It's not revenge, it's revelation. God allows exposure not to humiliate your enemies, but to educate them on what grace looks like. Those who doubted you will be forced to acknowledge the light they mocked. The same lips that gossiped about you will have to speak your name with respect. When God elevates you, He doesn't hide the process. He lets those who watched your downfall see that it was never your end. Every silent observer will become an involuntary witness to your vindication. Exposure is God's justice served gently. It doesn't destroy, it transforms the narrative. He will make the truth undeniable without you having to defend yourself. That's the power of divine observation. It turns scrutiny into stage lights. So don't worry about who's watching you now. Let them look. Let them analyze. Let them misunderstand. Because when God decides it's your time, the spotlight shifts from surveillance to celebration. There's a shift that happens when you awaken. You stop fearing the watcher and start teaching them. You realize their attention no longer drains you. It documents your transformation. The watcher becomes the witness. Every hardship becomes a case study in grace. The eyes that once watched in curiosity now watch in awe. Because you, chosen one, didn't just survive, you evolved. The silent observers of your pain now see a phoenix where they once saw ashes. You are living proof that endurance is sacred power disguised as suffering. You've turned surveillance into story, pain into purpose, and judgment into ministry. You are no longer the watched victim. You are the awakened example. And that's exactly why God never removed the eyes. He needed them to see what He could do through you. Now, as you walk in light, your visibility becomes service. Every step you take in integrity writes scripture in real time. Your life itself becomes a living sermon. You are not being watched anymore. You are being read. Backhand index pointing right if this resonates. Type, I am the witness and the testimony in the comments. Let the world see that you've transformed observation into evidence of divine power. Every unseen watcher, every whisperer in shadows, every false witness that thought your silence meant defeat, all of it is about to be exposed under the light of divine justice. For years, chosen one, you've endured misunderstanding, betrayal, and invisible battles. You cried behind closed doors while heaven took notes. You were accused when you were only authentic. But the same eyes that once watched you fall will soon witness your restoration. Exposure is not vengeance, it's alignment. When divine justice moves, truth rearranges everything. The masks come off, intentions reveal themselves, and suddenly those who studied you in secret are forced to honor you in public. Remember Joseph, sold, forgotten, then summoned. Heaven's justice doesn't skip steps, it builds testimonies. Your season of exposure is not about humiliation but elevation. God doesn't clear your name in private, He does it in the same places you were mocked. Chosen one, you won't need to defend yourself. Your silence has already testified. When the watchers return, they won't find the same version of you. They'll meet the one who grew in stillness, healed in secrecy, and rose in sacred power. What they used to study from a distance will now become a revelation they can't deny. Heaven is orchestrating scenes right now that will make sense of your pain. Every delay was gathering evidence. Every tear was writing a verdict. The gavel is about to fall, and divine justice will echo louder than the lies ever did. Watch how tables turn, not because you demanded it, but because grace decided it was time. Chosen one, this is your confirmation. The eyes that once watched to wound you are now witnessing your awakening. You have survived every silent evaluation, every jealous glare, every unseen attack, and still you rise. The season of observation is turning into the season of demonstration. You will no longer live under scrutiny, but under spotlight. Heaven doesn't hide finished works, it displays them. Rise because your story is not surveillance anymore, it's testimony. Shine because your scars are no longer secrets, they're signatures of survival. Walk without fear because the only eyes that matter now are the eyes of God, and His gaze is not critical, it's compassionate. You are not being watched for weakness but for wonder. The universe stands in awe of resilience like yours. Every watcher, every critic, every spirit that tried to measure you will now have to bear witness to your expansion. You were never the spectacle, you were the signal. Heaven used you to prove that light can walk through darkness without becoming it. Let your walk from here onward be fearless. Let your presence itself preach louder than your words ever could. So when you feel the gaze again, don't shrink, smile. It means destiny is paying attention. It means heaven is taking notes. You are seen not for performance but for purpose. The watchers have served their role. Now it's your turn to step into visibility with grace, wisdom, and boldness. What does walking without fear look like for you now? Declare it in the comments below, not just as words, but as prophecy over your life. And if this message ignited something in you, share it. Subscribe to Mirror of the Soul and keep coming back, because your journey doesn't end with being watched. It begins with being witnessed by destiny itself.